Long term, we might be able to achieve that in Vermont. However, there's this little matter of the empire. And I say this little matter of the empire because I can't go out and take my hard-earned money and shop for private health insurance if my company isn't giving me a good deal, or they think that I don't need dental to be able to program a computer. So, and the reason is that my company can get a tax break for buying health insurance. I can't. So a tax is a subsidy turned inside out. Okay, they get a kind of subsidy that I can't get, because I would have to pay a tax on the money that I would spend on private health insurance. So at the end of the day, I have to pay a lot more, and I can't afford to. And we wound up with these huge private conglomerates where we have to pay whatever they say, and the cost is inflated way through the roof. This goes beyond personal responsibility and you know, taking responsibility for your own health. If there were smaller competitive companies that competed with each other, and I could go to one and say, this is what I'm willing to pay, this is the level of insurance that I want, you know, as people can in Switzerland, that would be great. But that's something that I'd like to move toward. It can't happen tomorrow. And of course it can't happen with the current federal tax structure. So there we go. That's the empire standing in the way of progress on health insurance. The best Vermont can do today is single payer, so that's why I support it.
Well, you know, I mean, I've bounced this idea around and haven't had anybody come up with a reason why it wouldn't work, but what if we just got rid of, there's no such thing as health insurance, and if you can't pay your health bill, you get a low interest loan from the state-owned bank, and you pay it back annually with your property taxes through your town. Or, you know, you're beholden to the state to pay it back with a little bit of interest, so there's a little bit of a positive revenue stream that covers the administration. And it's just a loan, a credit access that people have if they absolutely need it. I mean, where's the waste in that kind of an approach?
It's a good idea.
I don't see, you know, it combines responsibility. I can take good care of my health and my family, keep my costs down through a wealthy, healthy lifestyle, and minimize the possibility of that. No insurance costs. The system can be relatively free market in terms of doctors and hospitals providing service and good cost-benefit ratios. You know, no bureaucratic overstructure that regulates every little movement that would add costs as well. You know, so I mean, I throw that out there. I think it's what we need is some open book thinking on this topic that goes beyond just the established sort of systems that are.
Gaelan, I think you might have something there, because a lot of people in Vermont are currently under foreclosure because they can't pay their medical bills.
Right. So that's then you remove that possibility. No one has to worry about that.
They go to a bank and they get laughed at.
Yeah.
You know, the bank's interest is to foreclose, not make a deal.
Right.
But many other countries in the world have proven that an absolute socialist health system is workable.
Sure.
And you talk about free enterprise, but in Canada, people do have a choice, and the doctors are independent people. Even in Britain, the doctors are independent, and people can choose, but the state pays so that no one ever has to not get care because they don't have enough money.
Right.
And it's been shown, Dr. Deb Richter has done a lot of work here in Vermont, that something like 30% of our costs are being wasted as overhead by the insurance companies.
Right. Huge savings right out of the gates. I think the problem that I have, not the problem, the question that I have is really more on, like, how do we really approach healthcare? Just like education. To me, I think our whole systems are full of bloated costs that aren't really valuable. I mean, do I need to go to a $2,000, perfect example, a year ago I was table sawing, cutting some boards, nicked the tip of my thumb, not a big deal, it was scary, ugly, bloody, four stitches. I've kept track of the time that I was in the ER in terms of x-ray technician and the doctor. It was a total of 45 minutes of 3 people's time. $4,600 was the bill. I mean, a socialized healthcare system that covered that money and sent it to the taxpayers to pay, I don't like that either, you know? That's obscenely overpriced because the whole system itself is overbuilt. It's not, there's no responsibility, you know, it's not, I mean, something's wrong. I don't know if it's just tort reform like the right side of this says, that, you know, if doctors didn't have to have all this malpractice insurance, that their costs would go way down. I do know that malpractice insurance for a typical family practice doctor is like $70,000, at least $70,000 a year. You know, so I mean, there's a bunch of these things that are you know, the far right in this debate I think has some good points in terms of these things that are driving up the costs. They're not responsible. They're not sustainable. You know, just switching the burden to be reducing the administrative costs of insurance, great. We'll cut our costs 30%, but I think we can cut our costs by more like 70% if we took a wellness-based approach where, you know, you go to your chiropractor or your naturopath or you eat good food and you have a healthy lifestyle. You know, where's the incentive for that if you can just go to the doctor and not even worry about what it costs? That's why I bring that. If it doesn't matter to me what it costs, then where's my incentive to quit smoking or, you know, lose my extra little tire or whatever it is? Like, no one wants to be sick, so that's plenty of motivation, right? But
well, we're never going to agree on that. I would never agree to that.
Well,
but it takes, for example, France. There's a state-run system there, and the doctors are, instead of being super rich people like they are
right,
here,
they're capped. It's normal. Yeah, they get
you know,
a good.
once
living.
you have a state-run system, they can get the price down.
Sure.
Same thing with the drugs.
That's another way to do it, and that would work. I do, but in terms of instantly just flipping, we're just going to shift the cost burden to taxpayers for everybody, keeping the current inflated costs of operating in place.
It's stymied. It's, you know, stymied. It's doomed to failure before it even starts,
Yeah.
because of those giant costs. However, I mean, if it's a value for society for people to be healthy, which is the socialist point of view,
Yeah.
healthy people are more productive.
Sure, it's an investment in
And-
our long-term vitality.
Yeah.
You know, I can totally accept that. And,
So,
and
in a civilized country, you're broken, you go get fixed, and that's it. So what's the big deal?
right.
You know, I now work for a company that doesn't give sick days anymore. So people are coming to work sick and then giving it to each other. How's that more productive?
Right. Right. Well, I guess my bent against, you know, the Obamacare or whatever you want to characterize the national version of this, I mean, the fact that the Democrat or left side of the political equation in Vermont is saying, okay, that's progress and we're going to run with it here and do it a little bit. We're going to one-up that a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, forcing everybody to buy private medical insurance is not, I mean, that's the opposite, that's the worst possible thing we could have done.
Oh, I agree. Forcing people to buy insurance, that's a very regressive. That means that the poorest people...
or you'll be fined up to $2,000 a year. If, you know, so you take your best performer who's healthy, doesn't need health insurance, has recognized that they're going to take care of themselves, the real Vermonter out there, which there's many of those people out here, and you're going to fine them $2,000 a year for not buying a private commodity that has no guarantee of performance or value to it. It's like...
It's an extra tax.
That is communist insanity, you know? That's like corporate communist combination in the worst possible sense.
Well, I lived in Canada for 2 years, and they had nothing like that in Canada. It was paid through the tax system. So in the tax system,
Right.
it's equitable because it's a graduated tax, and the wealthy person pays a lot more than the poor person. So there's a transfer of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
The unearned money is transferred to the people who actually need it.
Right.
But people that are viewing this what should they take from our discussion? Obviously, we disagree on some points, but we all have a business background, and we all agree that the budget should be balanced. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to give people health care, we'll pay for it, and we won't pay for it with inflation.
Right.
We have to, you said the two words, Terry, unearned money. And we really need to talk about this because there's quite a lot of it out there, and it's currently flowing in one direction only.